That's right. You asked for a gaggle of geese, and you're finally getting your gaggle. A gaggle of Canadian geese, that is, because they took part. What?
Canada geese.
Wait, you can't say Canadian?
Really?
No, they're not Canadian geese. They're Canada geese.
Canada geese.
I didn't know there was a difference.
Holy shit. All right, yeah, let's move on. Okay, so Canada geese. They took part in the 1996 film Fly Away Home. And if it wasn't the cutest fucking goose movie I've ever seen, I just don't even know what to say. But did you know that this movie is loosely based off of a wild true story? Or that a bunch of geese were born and raised for the film, and they even had their own migration? Learn about all this and more as we're hoofing it in Hollywood. The birds and the beasts are on the screen. They're the ones that you have seen. You've watched them since childhood as a hoofing it in Hollywood.
A fucking motherfucking gaggle of geese and gooses.
Aren't they also called like gankers or something like that?
No,
What?
nobody's ever heard the word ginkers.
Gankers?
No, there's a word.
Like a canker sore, but ganker?
I'll look it up. It's called like a yanker or something.
A gander? Is that what you're
Gander,
talking
That's
about?
what I'm looking for. Yeah.
What's good for the goose is good for the gander.
Yes.
Gander. Sounds nothing like ganker.
A ganker. He was one letter off, and we couldn't figure out what it was.
Yeah, we should have been able to figure that out.
It was just another Paulism.
Hello. Welcome to Hoofin' in Hollywood. I'm your host, Paul, and with me today I have my co-hosts, Audrey, Jordan,
Hi, Paul.
and Melissa.
Hi, Paul.
All right, we're doing Fly Away Home today, so
It'll be a good one.
let's not waste any more time. Take it away, Jordan.
Just kidding, we're doing Alligator 1980.
It will not be seen this week. What's one word besides goose that you would use, and you can't say honk either, to describe Fly Away Home?
Oh, how'd you know I was going to honk again?
I put that in just for Audrey.
Great, now I got to think. I was just going to... Heartwarming. Honestly, it was just such a sweet, heartwarming movie.
No, it really was. I'm right there with you. My word is uplifting, which pretty much the same thing, but also like, you know,
Double meaning. I love it. Flying.
double meaning. Yeah.
So I had two, and my first is like your guys's. It's inspirational. So like along all the same lines, it's uplifting, it gets you charged. But then also bummed. And I'll explain that once we get later into the episode.
Oh, no. Okay, I'll be simple, and I'll just go with...
Honk. Honk. Are you going to say honk?
You can't,
Honk.
Can't say honk, dude.
honk.
Take all that out. I completely blanked on a word to use. The word I'm going to choose is suspenseful, because there were some parts where I was just like, ooh, what are these geese going to do? Suspenseful.
I would never use the word suspenseful.
I don't know if I would either.
For me, it was suspenseful.
No, I get it. Anxiety was going off on this movie a little bit.
Really?
Yeah.
I thought there were times where they would get like chopped up by the propeller and stuff like that. That's what I mean by
Oh, I
suspenseful.
see.
And then I was happy that they didn't.
I could see that a little bit.
Right. Fly Away Home, 1996, was a family drama directed by Carol Ballard. Carol Ballard actually also directed The Black Stallion, written by Robert Rodat, who wrote Saving Private Ryan, and also by Vince McEwen, who later went on to write The Replacements. And also based on, in part, by Bill Lishman's autobiography that he wrote and eventually turned into the movie. But we'll talk about Bill a little bit later. The stars of this movie in the animal world were geese, a whole gaggle of geese, as Paul would say. And some human stars, Jeff Daniels, who was in Arachnophobia and Dumb and Dumber. And then Anna Paquin, who was in X-Men and True Blood as Sookie Stackhouse. Box office was budgeted for nearly $22 million, and it made back $4.7 million opening weekend in the U.S. and $36 million worldwide. It actually opened up with Maximum Risk, which was the number one movie of that weekend, and Fly Away Home was the number two movie, Maximum Risk being one with Jean-Claude Van Damme. Roger Ebert gave it 3.5 stars, quoting, "There are individual shots here worth the price of admission."
Agreed.
was nominated for an Academy Award for cinematography by cinematographer Caleb Deschanel, who is actually Zooey Deschanel and Emily Deschanel's dad. So what was the movie about? Let's go over the animal rules really quick. These are geese. There's no rules. They're wild geese. The only thing is they do what normal wild geese do, which is something that we wouldn't normally expect an animal to do, and that is imprint and follow around one person. So this movie, released in 1996, starts out with a little girl and her mom driving in the car. It seems normal, but there's really sad music playing for some reason. Then you find out why the sad music is playing. They get in this huge car crash immediately.
Out of the gate,
It's a horrible car crash.
As soon as the movie started, because Jordan had never seen it, I said, "Oh, Jordan, just wait for the beginning of this movie."
I had no clue, dude. I had no clue.
I thought it was a strange opening song, and then it all made sense when I figured out what was about to happen. Because you could kind of tell what was about to happen. The girl was just kind of looking at her mom like, "I love you forever and ever," and then badness.
Yeah.
So she wakes up and her dad is in the hospital. Her dad, who she hasn't seen since she was 3. And she's like, "Why are you here?" And he says, "I'm taking you home." And she, wait, what? And so ends up her mom died. Really sad. He takes her home to Ontario. So from New Zealand was where the crash was, which was where she was living. She's from New Zealand. She went home to this rural area in Ontario. Immediately upon getting there, he tells her how busy he is and he's not going to have time to hang out with her or anything. I don't talk about the dead mother at all.
I'm just going to be working.
She seems fine with it. She's like, whatever, it's cool. I'm not a baby was her quote, I think.
I don't need you to hold my hand, or however the Kiwi accent goes.
I really love one of the opening scenes of the dad using his little hang glider with his little legs dangling right after he gets his daughter back that he has not seen in 10 years.
That's what I was thinking.
He's like, "Let me go hang glide."
Mm-hmm.
And her mom just traumatically died.
Yeah.
This child needs somebody, and he just takes
He's
off.
100 feet in the air with no motor, no parachute, just risking his life, and she doesn't even know where she's at.
Yeah. But okay, so she lives there with her uncle David, who's kind of a little eccentric, and then he's got a girlfriend named Susan. She doesn't really like it much. She doesn't want to go to school. She's grieving and withdrawn, and nobody seems to really be addressing it.
Especially not her dad.
Yeah, especially not her dad. So she's supposed to be going to school, but she ends up skipping school. We learn that the area near their home is being bulldozed by development, which is a big sore spot for her dad. She skips school. She goes out hunting around in the area, and she finds some goose eggs near a tree that has been bulldozed down. So the parent geese are gone and there's these abandoned eggs. She brings them inside to the barn, steals a bunch of stuff from her dad's shop, to make an incubator. She somehow makes this incubator in the barn and keeps these eggs and watches them, basically.
It looked like the suitcase from Pulp Fiction. It was just shooting orange in her face. She's like, ah.
Yep.
It was pretty amazing. The eggs hatch and she doesn't know it, but the baby geese will imprint on the first thing they see. So they end up following her everywhere she goes. And at first they kind of think it's just cute. It's a cute thing. The geese follow her around, but they basically just are with her and she's their mom. And no matter what she does, they're with her.
If I remember correctly, there was a scene where the geese were following her and one of them tripped.
Yeah.
It's really cute.
Was that Igor? Because she said
I think it was Igor.
that he had a limp.
I think it was Igor. But the actual imagery of the goose trying to come and it's like, it was really cute.
One day a cop comes, I think just to talk to the dad for some reason, and then he notices the geese and he gets all uppity about it and says that, it's the Queen's law that all Canada geese must be clipped if they're not able to fly. Since they didn't have any parents, they weren't going to know how to migrate. And so his thing was, you either have to get rid of them, let us take them, or you can clip their wings. He tries to clip their wings right there in front of her.
With nail clippers, right?
Yeah, with nail clippers.
And he's like, hey, 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 like it's a joke or something.
It started out, the cop, he seemed like an okay police officer, like a friend of the family or something at first. And then all of a sudden he was Dr. Evil and he wanted to clip these geese's wings. So she freaks out and takes the geese away. And he's like, well, it's pretty much a Wicked Witch of the West situation. He's just like, I'll get you, my pretty, and I'll come back for these geese. And that sets up the conflict for later, at least with the law. So the dad kicks him out and says, get the fuck out of my house. And the guy's like, I'll be back. So so as much as he's not talking to his daughter, he's thinking about her and he's thinking about her plight. And he thinks that as much as the geese follow her around, maybe they could get the geese to follow her south to teach them how to migrate. And it's a pretty big leap to make, but he makes it. And, everybody's like, well, that's kind of crazy. But this dad, he has experience with gliders. We've seen in the beginning, he's kind of got this biplane like hang glider contraption. And he decides to put a little engine on it with a fan that can like help him with the hang gliding part and get these geese used to the sound of this thing and just knowing what this thing is and not being afraid of it. He has a professor friend that he meets with that knows of this spot in North Carolina where the geese could go to. So they also find the geese only follow her. As much as the dad tries to get the geese to follow him, they're only going to follow the girls. So he decides to sell some of his art, something that he had made and was kind of proud about, and buy an ultralight airplane so that he can teach his daughter how to fly. So this is where the daughter-dad bonding starts to really kind of occur. They're trying to get ready to go because it's kind of like fall's coming and they got to get these geese out of here before the cops come. There's an accident with one of her favorite geese where it actually runs into the plane. That was a suspense part. I was like, oh my God, it actually like made my heart stop because I thought this poor geese just got killed.
It made you like physically react. You were like, oh, wait.
I know. So they hit the geese and he's like, go land, get the other geese to follow you, and we'll go find him.
Would you say they were taking a gander at the goose?
At Igor the goose.
Sorry, that was not worth it.
They took a gander at Igor the goose.
Igor.
Fucking Igor.
While they're out trying to find this injured goose in the forest, the cops come and confiscate all the rest of the geese, and they're like being held hostage. Anyway, some stuff happens. The family ends up making this big plan, breaking the geese out and starting the journey. And they're all following her, and the dad is flying in another plane, and the brother and a family friend and the girlfriend all follow like in a car. On the way, they have to do like an emergency landing at a U.S. Air Force base where they don't get shot out of the sky. Luckily, they almost get arrested, but then they're like, yeah, this is really cool. And they call the media, and the media comes and makes this big story about it. They become a media sensation as they're trying to make their way. People know, and they're actually watching en route and cheering them on as they go over. You go through Baltimore in the fog, which you would never want to be flying in the fog if you don't have any sort of like instrument telling you that you're right side up or upside down, but it doesn't matter. They come out of the fog and see the buildings in Baltimore. It was a really cool shot. And they end up landing in North Carolina. The crowd cheers, the developer sneers, and everybody lives happily ever after. And there's a thing at the end saying that the geese flew back on their own because they knew the way home.
I believe this is one of the movies I had on VHS as a kid. So I feel like I watched it a lot and definitely like remember liking it. And then even I think it holds up today as an adult with how heartwarming it was. And there wasn't really anything I thought that was too weird or too cringe for it being 96. I don't know if you guys felt the same. Like it
felt timeless. Yeah.
Yeah. I think they did a good job with that.
Yeah. They were like teetering on the edge of it being weird with
Oh, yeah.
the dad's friend. Because there were like moments where I was like, I feel like maybe he's vibing too much with Anna.
I said the same thing to Jordan.
But they didn't go there. So it just ended up being like a cute, almost like mentorship. But the way they filmed it, it didn't always feel like that's what they were going for.
Yeah,
so
felt a little weird.
Yeah, I was very nervous about that until the end of the movie. I was like, oh, okay.
I thought the movie was really, really good all the way. I just wish the dad would have asked how she was doing earlier in the movie, but
yeah.
At least acknowledged it. Or like if Susan, his girlfriend, would have been like, aren't you worried about Anna? Or whatever her name was. Aren't you worried about...
I think you nicknamed her Hot Becky.
Oh, Hot Becky. I wish Hot Becky would have been like, are you doing okay?
Hot Becky.
Let's talk about Bill, you guys. Bill Lishman. The story of the movie was inspired by a true story about a man named Bill Lishman. Bill Lishman was born in Canada, and he was always interested in flying. In 1986, he went to an air show, and he saw a man using a glider that was the little biplane wings. The same, I think it was the same glider that we saw in the movie at the beginning, and it just blew his mind. 2 years later, he built one himself and started like tooling around in it. He had tried flying with birds numerous times in this ultralight that he had finally started to build. Fast forward to 1988 a little bit, he led his first geese flight. And about 5 years later, he actually flew with 18 Canadian geese 420 miles from his home to Virginia. Crap, I even wrote Canadian down. 13 of those geese actually came back on their own. They know how to get there and back after that. He started working with geese because they were just it was Canada. They weren't endangered. They were everywhere. They were easy to find, and people probably didn't care that he was messing around with them. So in 94, Bill and his friend Joe Duff founded Operation Migration. The main goal with Operation Migration was to save endangered whooping cranes, and 2 awards that Bill won. In 2000, Canada awarded him with the 2000 Meritorious Service Medal for his work in conservation. And then in 2002, he was rewarded with the U.S. National Wildlife Federation Conservation Award.
That's awesome.
That is cool.
One of the last things he did was, with his ultralights, he made disaster recovery delivery aircraft. I don't know how else to say it. Like aircraft that could get into really tight spots in really remote places and drop supplies to people who might be stranded or need help.
Oh, cool.
That's cool.
So he was doing just humanitarian stuff up until when he died.
That's awesome.
Totally cool.
So I was going to say, this is where my second word comes in, bummed, because his story is awesome, but I thought the whole movie was based on like a true story, and a little girl did fly all the way to North Carolina.
Oh, no.
So when I was seeing the army thing, I was like, well, but they did it. This did really happen. And they really did.
It's all right to believe a little bit here and there.
More or less, I just feel like a colossal jackass for like convincing myself that she flew through Baltimore. All right, you got anything else, Jordan?
No, I don't. That's it.
I'll now take it over for Creature Chronicles. What's that? It's Creature Chronicles. I don't know why we keep doing this to ourselves. Actually, I just don't know why it keeps happening to me, having to deal with like a lack of animals. But how am I supposed to tell a story of a gaggle of geese? I don't know how to do it. I do have a few gaggle of tidbits, but like seriously, guys, this episode can eat my ass, all right?
Gaggle of tidbits.
Yeah.
Wait, I feel like it should be a gaggle of Timbits since Tim Hortons is a Canadian company.
Whoa, okay.
Oh, now I want some.
Like, I have a gaggle of Timbits, but seriously, you guys. Also, I'm going to tell you at the end of this episode how many times we say gaggle, so just get ready. All right, let's talk about the actors of this film. It's a gaggle of geese, everyone.
It's a gaggle of geese.
Canada geese, and for real, they used a real-life gaggle that eventually migrated at the end of it. So Canada geese, they belong to the Anatidae family, which includes ducks and swans, but they're like the larger cousin version of them, and they're really fucking loud, like loud as shit with that honky honk sound.
Honk.
Yes, exactly that. That was a real clip I just played, by the way. So they were originally native to Canada and the northern United States, especially around lakes, rivers, and wetlands. And when they migrate, they go as far south as Mexico. They can fly over 15,000 miles in a single day, and they can be tracked...
Wait, is that right? 15,000 miles in a single day?
1,500 miles. I did it again.
I was...
I can travel...
Good call, Jordan.
They can travel 150 million miles a day. Further than the span of the Earth. They can go around the Earth 5 times.
How many parsecs, Paul?
They can fly over 1,500 miles in a single day.
Wow.
And they've also been able to fly as high of an altitude as 30,000 feet. And that is...
What?
30,000.
That's high. That's like jetliner high.
Actually, my note says, yes, commercial jet level high.
Commercial jet level.
Wait, what if you were flying on a jet and you looked out and there was just a goose?
I would love that.
Dude, a fucking V, like right next to you.
I would hope it didn't get into my engine.
Yeah, don't get in the engine, goose.
What if they started forming other letters and they spelled Audrey in the sky, and you would have to just...
Oh my God, Audrey in the sky with diamonds.
You would just have to know that, but you couldn't do anything with it.
What if they came up to the plane window, because I like window seats, and they used the little tip of their wing and drew an A on the window?
And then you clipped it with a pair of clippers.
Jordan.
All right. Canada geese are known for being hyper adaptable. They're actually not super selective where they live due to human involvement. So you can now find them in suburbs, landfills, airports, basically anywhere, because they're not chased out of their environments as much anymore. Like, they can get fed by humans. There's not prey that they have to worry about.
Do you mean there's no predators that they have to worry about?
Yes, yeah. No predators, no environmental issues that are going to like take them out as much. They are very assertive and territorial, so they will fuck you up if you get too close to them, which is wild.
And they will like fuck anything up. They would fuck a car up.
Mm-hmm.
They
I was
do
gonna
not
say,
mess around.
they're kind of mean.
Mm-hmm.
They're family-oriented and loyal. They're also known for being monogamous, and they form tight family units. And when I say monogamous, they only have one mate for life.
Huh.
If one partner dies, they're going to be really sad.
Really honking sad.
Audrey, it's a serious moment.
Stop.
Come on.
When you say a tight family unit, at what point do the baby geese say peace out from the parent geese? Or do they stay in the same flock?
That's a good question.
They stay with them close to a year before they leave the family.
Okay.
So they stick around for a very long time. They're doing that first migration with them, and then they're like, I don't want to see you again. They peace out after that.
Yeah, I feel like otherwise you would get a genetic gooseneck instead of it's called a bottleneck, but I'm making a joke about it being a gooseneck. What? Joke for the biology peeps.
Oh. It was like, what?
I have to make a correction, and that correction is that it wouldn't be a genetic gooseneck or bottleneck. It would be inbreeding depression. The gooseneck was a good joke, but it's not actually accurate. It would be inbreeding depression. I wanted the joke, okay, and it didn't work.
So in the wild, they can live 10 to 25 years or longer if they're living with humans. Some interesting stuff. In indigenous mythology, gooses are known as the sky messenger, or they're also known as the messenger of the seasons due to their migration. So when they saw them leave and come back, that signaled to them that something was going on. And that V formation was actually seen as part of the creator's plan guiding humans through cycles of life and survival.
Wow.
So Audrey, if you see goose spell your name while you're on that airplane, you need to follow those geese because they're telling you where you're going to go when you die.
I just run into the pilot's, what is it called? Their office, their cabin. Just run in.
The airplane
Pilot's
office.
I run into
doing faxes,
into the airplane office, and I'm like, pilot, follow that goose, you know?
Mm-hmm. All right, let's get into the history of this gaggle of geese that were featured in the film. So it's interesting because they did use real geese for this film. Like, the moment they were born, they imprinted on people in the film, and basically their whole life was being raised just like in this film, to the point where they actually migrated afterwards because they had to go get a rest later on. But that being said, there were over 60 Canada geese used in the filming of this, and the reason why there were so many is because the goslings were growing and they were changing too rapidly, so they had to get like even more geese to fulfill some of the roles because
Oh, wow.
it was just taking too long. So we're talking about multiple flocks or gaggles of geese. As far as the film they were in, this is their first and only film, Fly Away Home in 1996. And it sounds like the production of this film was a little crazy because there was a lot of adapting to the geese. But Bill Lishman, the person that Jordan had mentioned, was on set with them the whole time. He was experienced, so that helped with corralling the geese and getting them to do what they needed to do. And Jeff Daniels was actually quoted as saying, "I've worked with more difficult co-stars. Compared to, say, spiders like in Arachnophobia, the geese are much better." So sounds like he had a decent time on set. After the film, with the conclusion of the production, Bill Lishman had to lead these 60 imprinted actor geese in migration to the Tom Yawkey Wildlife Center off the coast of Georgetown, South Carolina. It's just wild because the entire experience you saw on screen was basically the real life experience for these geese. Like, they were hanging out with these actors, they grew up, and then Bill just flew them to South Carolina at the end of it.
That's awesome. I feel like you could tell watching the film, it just felt a very organic production in that way.
Yep.
Yeah. I couldn't find anything beyond the story of them migrating, like where they're at now, but knowing that they live about 10 to 25 years, I think it's safe to say that they're not with us anymore.
Probably not.
But to speak to the quirks of these geese, they really liked it when the actors would make goose sounds back at them. So there was a lot of interaction between the two, but they really loved when the actors go like honk, honk. So they got off on that.
Oh, no.
So while there was no real identified actor of the group, there was one goose that was based off of a few geese. Like they crafted their character by geese that Bill Lishman actually worked with. Can you guess which goose in the movie was based off real-life counterparts?
Igor.
I was going to say Igor because it's the only one I remember their name.
Yeah, the only name I remember.
So Igor was actually involved in Bill Lishman's second successful migration operation. And he was called Igor because he was born with a misshapen head and a slight limp. And so they're like, let's name him after that Frankenstein character, which seems like a real dick move to me, but...
Kind of, but I don't know. It's kind of cute, too, in my opinion.
I wonder if it was like in the movie, too, because he said, yeah, but it was also powerful because Igor was like big and did all the like, you know, like workhorse kind of thing.
Heavy lifting.
Oh, yeah, maybe. Maybe it wasn't a dick move. Maybe it was a dick move.
It could have been a dick move. Maybe that was him making up for it in the movie.
So the OG Igor was actually lost during the migration with Bill Lishman, and he joined a flock of wild geese along the way.
Wow.
And apparently a Pennsylvania couple who knew about the whole migration found him and brought him back to Bill.
I'm going to cry. Stop it.
Yep. But the flock drove Igor off because he didn't have a neckband on him. Because apparently when they were traveling, they stopped at Dr. William Sladden's Bird Center in Arley, Virginia, and they got these sweet neckbands. And so when Igor showed up, he didn't have a neckband on.
This is not real.
He wasn't invited. Nah, this is real. I found it on like the Disney wiki.
They didn't like him because he didn't have a necklace on.
Yes. But when he finally got it on, he was assimilated back into the flock.
Aww.
When he returned to Ontario in spring, he took this like a giant out of the way path and like was spotted near Niagara Falls. And so Lishman was quoted as saying that he just really wanted to see the falls.
Aww.
But
Igor.
he did make it back on his own, just like the movie. They were worried about Igor and he made it back.
Awesome.
So that was one of the originals that made up Igor. There was another bird during a 1994 flight where a gander named Crash was suspected of being partially blind, and he would often crash into the power poles or be lost during practice flights,
Oh, buddy.
forcing the team to look for him by the road and truck him back home, just like Igor in the film.
Oh,
Right?
yeah.
Aw.
And so Crash was spotted flying behind the flock when they did the actual official migration. They thought they lost him and he showed up. So again,
I like that.
Crash.
these two geese helped shape and define the character that you saw in the film, that you fell in love with, that inspired you to this day.
Oh.
I think I said gaggle like 16 times in this episode. Does anyone else have a guess at how many times we said gaggle up until this point?
17.
I was 25.
Because if you're correct, you'll win a pair of Walter Goggins goggle gaggles.
Wait, don't even tease, because I will get serious about this for those.
I'd wear them.
Wait, can Walton Goggins sponsor this
Yo.
podcast?
No joke. We should try that. Let's get that clip
should.
over to him.
Please, somebody, everybody, tweet it out, hashtag it, whatever you have to do.
All right, that's all I got for Creature Chronicles. I'll now turn it over to Audrey for some movie magic.
Okay.
Get ready for movie magic.
We ready for
Yo.
movie magic?
We're ready.
So this one, the movie magic for this one was interesting because a lot of the times a key piece of movie magic is using treats to like make the animals do the things you want them to do. And from what I could find, that played no role in this. Like the geese weren't like trained performers. They were mostly acting on instinct. So for example, the imprinting, which we've talked about a lot, Bill Lishman had to sort of start that in advance. So for Anna Paquin, he got her voice on a tape recorder saying goose, goose, goose. And he put that in the incubator with the eggs.
Wow.
As they hatched, he continued to play it. And I saw somewhere, too, that he did it while his daughter was there, who was like a similar size and build to Anna Paquin, to like try and create that association of goose, goose, goose with someone her size as well. And so they did. That's how he imprinted for Anna. And there was like an interview where she was telling the tape recorder story, and then she's like, but they were confused because I wasn't a tape recorder. And like you could see that like she just was a kid, and it was really, I don't know, it was cute.
Dude, that's like a whole nother level of logistics you have to plan for, like to make sure that they're going to be raisable in the time you need to film. Like,
yeah. And to like get them the right age imprinted.
Yep.
And hope that the imprinting works.
And hope there's no like crazy delays in filming, that like these imprinted geese are just useless now because they're 2 years old.
Well, I mean, they still live full lives as geese. Jeez.
Well, I meant useless to us as filmmakers.
I know, I'm kidding. This piece of shit goose, get rid of it.
Throw them in the trash.
Oh my God.
So they did different types of imprinting, and there was one thing that I read as like an aside, and then I couldn't find any other information on it, that was like, and then there was a flock that was imprinted to a boat. And I was like, wait, what?
What?
Whoa, we need to hear more on that. What was that about?
I couldn't find anything else. It was implying that there's a scene where the geese are sort of like flying low or something. And apparently it just said they were imprinted to a boat for that scene. These poor geese just totally fucked them up.
They imprinted them to like everything, it sounds like.
We should get our hands on some and just see what the weirdest thing is we could get them to imprint on.
Imprint on our tea maker.
All right, moving on. So there were many scenes where like they did goose things with that side.
Okay. Please just have that be the end of your section. It's like they did lots of goose things and then we just cut.
Okay. I don't know why I said that. What I was really trying to say is that there's a scene where one of the geese hatches, and that was filmed sort of like documentary style, the goose hatching, so it actually did hatch.
Nice.
And then other than the imprinting, the instincts part, there was an interview with Jeff Daniels where this lady asks, was it hard to get the geese to do what you want to do? And so I was curious, like, what his response to that would be, having watched the movie. Let me get this clip up for you.
Interacting with the geese and getting them to do what they should do.
No, because I spoke their language.
What is that? How do you speak?
And you learn how to do that and not feel stupid.
I was not ready for him to be.
Oh,
Wow.
He did it so straight faced.
Yeah.
he did. He didn't crack at all.
That was obviously he was trying to be funny, but it was serious that Bill did it, Bill Lishman, and he got all the actors to do it. And so also in the behind the scenes features, you can see them all doing it. So they spoke their language. And then there were some of the movie magic was just like happy accidents, like the geese like to chew on Anna Paquin's hair. There was one scene where they put a little gosling on the toilet bowl and it was supposed to walk around the rim like, ha ha ha, I'm so cute. But it saw the water and just like jumped in, and they thought that was cute, so they kept it in the movie. So we talked about the goose, Igor, but how do you think they got the movie goose to limp?
Taped tacks to the bottom of its foot.
Tacks? Jesus.
Yeah.
I'm just going to say they put tape on the bottom of its foot with no
Like
tack.
those firecrackers or something, like where he was walking.
No.
They actually like broke its leg. I'm just kidding. I have no idea.
Melissa.
Baby, I was born this way. No, don't put that in there. But no, he was
Oh.
born that way. He was born with a limp, so
Aw.
he was perfect for the role. So speaking of Igor, there's that scene that Jordan talked about that was like, where he smacks into the glider that Amy's flying and and he, falls. But that scene, I couldn't find a lot of detail on it, just that it was shot in cuts and that a real and a fake goose were used, as well as computer generated segments.
It looked pretty legit though. I
It
feel
did.
like
They did
however
a good.
they did it.
That's why I was curious, is they did a really nice job with it. Other things. when they had the birds flying close to the plane, when they actually were close to the plane, they had guards around the propeller to protect the geese. So other than the scene of the bird smacking into the plane, there's another CG scene. Most of it was real birds, but can you guess what scene had CG birds in it?
Wait, did you say the Baltimore scene, or that we can't say the Baltimore scene?
But no, it was the Baltimore scene.
Oh.
Wait, did you say that? I'm so confused. Did you say that earlier and I missed it?
Did you just make that up, or did she say that?
No, my guess was the Baltimore scene, but she said something like, you can't say this, and I checked out whatever that was that you just said.
Paul. No, it was the Baltimore scene. I said that other than the bird flying into the plane scene.
Oh, okay. I didn't hear that, and I didn't know if you had said Baltimore.
Okay, so Paul guessed correctly. It was the Baltimore scene.
Guessed correctly in like the craziest way.
Okay, never mind. So they use CG in the Baltimore scene with the Baltimore skyscrapers. Here's another fun fact. Another guessing game since you farted that one up.
No, well, he got it right, though.
He did.
So he did a good job.
He just did it in a dumb way. So here's our other guessing game. Based on a fun fact, all of Bill's family was in the movie, except for his wife, but him and his kids. Do you think you spotted any of them or have any guesses as to the roles that they played in the movie?
Was his daughter one of like her friends at school?
Yes.
And I didn't know that was a legit guess.
So we got the daughter. So now we've still got a son and Bill himself.
Was the son the guy that was hitting on Anna Paquin?
No.
Yeah.
Okay.
Wasn't hitting on her. Was the son at the North Carolina landing spot in the crowd?
Technically, you never see his son. He just had a role in the movie, which was he was the goose wrangler.
Oh.
His son, Jordy.
And
then where did Bill did appear on camera. Can you guess as what? Not a goose.
Dang it. I was just going to say, was he actually a goose?
Was he a pilot? Like, was he flying the plane in some of the shots?
Yes, he was the stunt double for Jeff Daniels.
Oh, shit.
Is that ridiculous? The guy who's getting a movie made after him is doing the flying in the plane?
Yep, he flew the plane. So
that is kind of crazy.
Jeff Daniels and Anna Paquin taxied the planes, like drove them around on the ground, but they never flew. That was most of the movie magic, except for one other thing. Anna's accent in the movie. So I was like, wow, she's not doing a very good accent. But as it turns out, that was her real accent.
Whoa.
And they wrote the story around her accent. Like, her history in New Zealand was because of her accent.
Whoa.
So when we watched it, I was like, why did they make her from New Zealand and now she has to use accent and it doesn't sound good? No, that was her real life voice, and they had to write it into the movie.
Yeah, I asked Jordan because for the longest time I thought she was American because everything I've seen her in, she's had, had an American accent. I had no clue she was from there. And when she first started talking, she almost sounded like British, or like she was putting on like a fake British accent. And I was like, what?
Yeah.
I had a quick movie magic question, but you might not know the answer to it.
Hit me!
Do you have any idea with the scenes when it showed Igor in the plane with her? Because remember how she had him all like bundled up in the plane with her? Was that like a real goose? Was it animatronic? Do we know? Was there any info?
I don't know. I mean, I wonder when she's taxiing, I feel like it could have been a real goose, or they did the greens. That's right. The close up of when they were flying and you saw them close up, those were green screen because the stunt doubles were doing the actual flying. So maybe, I can't remember what that scene looked like, but maybe it was the real goose if it was really just a green screen shot. I'll have to take another gander.
Damn it.
Anyway, that's all I got. Whoa.
All right, I'll now turn it over to Melissa.
I knew he's going to do that thing where he leaves
stuff.
it in, even though it was stupid. Did you say butt stuff?
All aboard for audience anecdotes. It's time for animal reviews.
Okay.
Good.
Jordan, stop. Okay, guys, stop it. It's time for animal reviews. What do you guys think of the performance of the geese in the movie? The rating scale I came up with for this episode, I bet you guys can guess what it is.
Is that honks?
Honk.
Yep.
Honk.
Out of 5, big ol' honkin' honks.
Man, I'm going to go first. And honestly, don't get me wrong, I love these geese, but I'm only giving them 1 honk because they were just being themselves. They weren't acting or anything.
Yeah.
They didn't even know that they were being filmed. Probably.
Just a 1 though?
Whoa.
Jordan stole my answer. I was going to say 1 honk. No, woof. 1 honk. Anyway.
That's not a honk.
Get your honk straight.
That is a bear grunt.
Okay, you've swayed me a little bit. I was going to say 5 honks, but I'll round down to 2.
No, the Audrey rounding system.
No, I'm gonna be even and say 3.
It's not even even.
I'll say
It's not an even number. It's an odd number.
I thought Jordan said, my name's even. I'm like, what?
Mine.
So what I want to see out of a lot of these actors are that they look like what they're supposed to be, kind of. So that's why I give it a higher rating. But you guys
Because
are
a goose
right.
looks like a fucking goose. That's the line that you draw.
Sometimes I
The
want to.
animal looks like the animal. It gets 5
It
honks.
looked like a goose. Whatever. I thought that.
I thought you wanted it to look you in the eye and cry or whatever.
That's why it's getting a 3. And I'm also realizing that I'm contradicting like the past 11 episodes of what I've said. So
Yeah,
I'm
you
going to
are.
say 3 and just play it safe. A nice solid even number, 3. That's it. 3 honks. Honk, honk, honk.
Well, now I don't know how to answer because I feel like you guys ruined my answer.
Well, what were you going to say?
Yeah, go with your heart.
I mean, I was going to say like 4, which is pretty high, but you guys did bring up some good points that technically they weren't acting. They were just living their lives, which I didn't even think about that.
Yeah, they flew though.
Well, and like here's one solid piece of evidence. We know that the baby goose was supposed to walk around the rim of the toilet, and this stupid little thing
And they fucked up.
couldn't even do that. It jumped in the toilet. So
But it created a great moment, so
It
I think
did.
that's good acting. It was like thinking on its toes. It just kind of improvised.
I think it just fell into the toilet and the cameraman was like, yes.
But yeah, so originally I had 4 for them, but I might round it down to 1.25 or something. So, all right, now we're going to take a look at some audience reviews. RottenTomatoes.com's popcorn meter gives the movie a 70% average rating, which is pretty high. And I think that makes sense based on what we thought of the movie. But the first review is from Greg S., and this is from January 2025, so relatively new. And they gave it a 4-star and said, simply magical and touching. Daniel's best role ever. A beautiful film.
oh, do you think they saw arachnophobia?
But has he also not seen Dumb and Dumber? Because, like, just kidding. I think that was his best acting, but, you know. The next review from RottenTomatoes.com is from Alexandria H. This is from 2020. She gave it a 5-star and said, I'm an adult and this movie is probably directed at kids and teens, but I really enjoyed it. Very engaging, heartwarming, and inspiring.
Accurate.
Yeah, for
Agreed.
sure.
The last review is on Letterboxd, and the movie has an average rating on that website of 3.5 stars out of 5. This one's a little longer, but it was the top-rated review, and I thought it was really entertaining. So this is by Scott Tobias, and they gave it 5 stars and said, possibly my favorite family film ever. So simple and gorgeous and full of emotion, and so pure in the way Anna Paquin's character works through her mother's death by mothering these geese. And, crucially, getting them to a place where she can let them go and know they'll be okay. Caleb Deschanel shoots the ever-loving shit out of it, and the use of the Mary Chapin Carpenter song 10,000 Miles on both ends of the film breaks me down every single time.
Yeah, for real, dude. That fucking song, dude.
I did not think of those connections. I really liked that. The mothering geese and seeing them to safety, and That's just very nice.
Yeah, very well written.
Yeah, they missed an opportunity to like have her real mom look down on her at the end of the movie, like from the sky, like superimpose her face, like
That would have ruined the movie, Paul.
You mean like every Disney movie?
They could have done a Star Wars thing where she's just like leaning against a fence with Obi-Wan.
And she looks like a hologram or like a, yeah.
like eating some chips or something. Like, good job.
What if she came back as a goose and like she was like the shadow on a goose's belly and it was just like her face?
The shadow on a goose's belly.
You did good. I love you, horror.
Stop. Now we're getting into horror.
Her mom's dead face is on the goose's belly.
Stop.
Wait, her actual dead face or like...
Yeah, like her. No, not like. No, in the feathers, it looks like now like her.
Yeah, it would be like made of feathers.
Now like body horror, like a weird like.
Like when people see like faces in like toast or like...
Yeah, like Jesus in a slice of toast.
Yes.
I saw Mama in a goose's feathers.
All right, it's surprise scenario time, and the one I have for you guys today is: if you were learning to fly alongside your estranged father to try to help some geese learn how to migrate, what would be your flying code name, and what song would you play while they were flying next to like encourage them to keep going on their journey?
Whoa. My code name would be Salvador Salvatage. Because I would kick ass and take names, and my song would be Through the Fire and Flames by Dragon Force.
Oh.
And we would be ripping 12-minute solos the entire
Damn.
time, dude.
Okay.
Yeah, dude. We would be fucking that flight. It would be awesome.
That's pretty sweet.
I'm going to go the very obvious route. My code name would be Goose, and my flight song would be Danger Zone. Danger Zone.
Oh,
Nice.
I
Yeah.
had that down as a possible. Yeah, good call. All right, my code name would be Silly Goose
Aw.
because I thought that was cute. And I would play I Believe I Can Fly by R.
Oh
Kelly.
my God.
Hell
10 out of
yeah.
10.
Hell
Love
yeah.
that. I didn't even think about it. Beautiful.
Yes.
I believe I can fly.
I believe I can tell.
I think my code name would be Willy Honka. And
I'm kind of obsessed with
that's
that.
awesome.
so my code name would be Willy Honka. And I feel like the theme would be to do the come with me and you'll be in a
No world of pure imagination.
But I'm not going to do that song because it's kind of boring for flying. So instead, I think I'm going to do... I would have that band that wrote I Would Walk 5,000 Miles.
The Proclaimers.
So I would contact the Proclaimers and have them write me an alternate version and then record it of I Would Fly 5,000 Miles. What would they fly to, though? Floor, bore, more, core.
The shore.
Sure. Love it! I would fly 500 miles and I would fly 500 more just to be the goose who flew 1,000 miles to fall down at your shore.
I love it. And we're now at the Adopt, Take to the No-Kill Shelter or Taxidermy segment. So for you guys, I have these 3 things picked out. We have all of the geese, so as a whole. Igor the goose, because everybody loved him. I have to pick him. And then the dragon statue that was made by Thomas Alden.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
That's the 3rd thing for you to pick from.
I'm adopting Igor, and Igor's going to live with the other animals that I've adopted so far, which is like the chimp, and I don't remember who else I adopted, but got quite the collection going. And I'm going to take the other geese to the no-kill shelter and the no-clip shelter so they don't get their wings clipped. And then I am going to stuff the dragon.
Oh, no. I am sort of going to do the same. I'm going to adopt the gaggle of geese because I want them all. And I love Igor, but I'm going to send him to a no-kill shelter because I want 1,000,000 geese. And I'm going to taxidermy the dragon. I'm going to stuff it, and it'll be great. That's what I got.
I'm going to adopt the gaggle as well, because that would just be rad, especially if we're getting them at the time of birth, because that would be so cool to have like a flock follow you. I'm going to taxidermy Igor because he's no good for anyone because he's a broken bird. So let's not give him away to anyone. That means I'm going to send to the no-kill shelter the dragon so that all the animals there and the orphan kids can look at it and have a fun time watching it.
Damn, that was really cruel.
Wow.
Not for the kids, dude. They get to play on a dragon. It's pretty sweet.
Poor Igor. So I'm going to change it up a bit, and I would adopt the dragon statue because, again, thought it was pretty sweet looking. This one's tough, though, the next two. I just know we wanted that statue, but...
Oh, no.
I am torn because...
This is the railroad problem.
Yeah, Melissa, join us.
Yeah, I'm torn. I didn't think this through, but I feel bad for Igor, so I feel like I want to take him to the no-kill shelter. But then if I taxidermy all those geese,
yeah, you're going to murder them all.
What do we do with them? And that's a lot of murder.
Is that a stand-in for murder, or are we just like saying after they die? I don't remember how we did that.
I don't think we're murdering them.
I'm sticking with it. I'm just going with that.
Yeah,
so.
let's go.
They die a natural death, and then you taxidermy them.
Perfect.
Oh, but then you have to have like an entire flock for like ever.
We can do all the geese.
You're right, though. I would have so many possibilities. I would have so many geese. I could like put some out in the front yard, put some in the backyard to scare away the deer. I could put some in the house.
Oh, you could hide them in people's house. You could just like hide them. They'd walk down the stairs and they'd be like, I need my light turned on or whatever. And scare the shit out of their goose parents.
I could take them to friends' houses and hide them places and hope they find that. Yeah.
I would be thrilled if someone hid a taxidermied goose in my house.
I will keep this in mind for Christmas. I mean...
All right, Melissa, you got anything else?
Nope, that's it, Paul.
All right. Okay, everyone, thank you for joining us this month to talk about Fly Away Home, the cutest goose movie you'll ever see. And if you stick around with us next month, we'll be doing the 1981 film Roar, which features a bunch of animals in it, like lions, tigers, and elephants.
Yay!
So if you like our show, please feel free to like, subscribe, comment, check out our Facebook, our Instagram, our TikTok. You can find out a bunch of information about the episode if you visit our website. There's a lot of cool stuff like transcripts and photos and stuff.
Oh, and you should definitely check out Fly Away Home. And you should watch it with your family because what's good for the goose is good for the gander.
All right. Final thank you to Audrey, Melissa, and Jordan for joining us.
And also thanks to geese.
I'll see you next time. Bye-bye. Honk.
Honk, 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 honk.
You're not. Why are you a donkey?
Thank you for listening to Hoofin' It in Hollywood. This podcast has been produced by Paul, Audrey, Melissa, and Jordan. Please note that this content is intended for entertainment purposes only. We are not professional researchers, and the views and opinions expressed are our own. For more information and links to the resources mentioned in this episode, please check the show notes or visit our website at bit.ly/hoofin-hollywood. If you found this episode enjoyable and wish to support the podcast, we kindly ask you to like, subscribe, and leave a rating or review on your preferred podcast platform.